Tonight, a dark, historic moment as shots were fired at a rally for former President Donald Trump, with one shot striking Trump. It's what law enforcement are investigating as an apparent assassination attempt. Good evening, I'm Kristen Kwan. Trump's campaign confirms he will be attending the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee next week. National correspondent Kayla Gaskins joins us from Capitol Hill with what we know about the developing situation.
Donald Trump releasing a statement in the hours after the attack, saying he was shot by a bullet that pierced his upper ear. He also thanked the Secret Service for their action and gave condolences to the rally attendee who died. Trump's campaign confirmed the former president is fine and that he was checked out at a local medical facility. A political rally turned into a crime scene.
This is a big crowd. This is a big, beautiful crowd.
As the former president spoke to his supporters in Butler, Pennsylvania Saturday, gunshots ripped through the air. Donald Trump seen reaching for his ear before dropping to the ground. Secret Service immediately rushing the stage to surround him. Screams heard in the crowd. After a few tense moments, the former president on his feet. Blood spattered across his cheek and ear. Trump giving a fist bump as Secret Service whisked him away to the hospital. The Associated Press reporting the shooter is dead, along with one rally attendee. President Biden said he would be speaking to Trump and condemned the violence.
There's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick.
Republican House Majority Leader Steve Scalise was shot in 2017 by a left-wing activist. On Saturday, Scalise writing, "For weeks, Democrat leaders have been fueling ludicrous hysteria that Donald Trump winning re-election would be the end of democracy in America. Clearly, we've seen far-left lunatics act on violent rhetoric in the past. This incendiary rhetoric must stop." We spoke with a Trump supporter who was 6 rows from the stage.
Just a sad day for America. Just a really sad day for America. The vibe was, it was open with prayer. People were united. This is America. This is freedom, regardless of your politics.
This rally was supposed to be a celebratory moment for Trump heading into the GOP convention in Milwaukee that starts Monday. The convention will no doubt have a very different feel with tighter security now on tap in the wake of Saturday's shooting. In Washington, I'm Kayla Gaskins.
The reactions are pouring in tonight. Tennessee Representative Diana Harshbarger saying in a statement tonight, President Trump, by the grace of God, has survived this vile attempt on his life. He is truly a once-in-a-generation leader, and I will continue to pray, knowing that God will be watching out for him always. Virginia Representative Morgan Griffith saying any and all forms of political violence are unacceptable. The event in Butler, Pennsylvania, involving President Trump is a deeply concerning development. As we wait to hear from more from authorities, I urge all Americans to pray for the victims of this incident, the people of Pennsylvania, and President Trump. And Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn saying, tonight, I join the millions of Americans in prayer for President Trump, his family, rally attendees, and our great nation. Former President Trump is a fierce fighter for the American people, and I'm thankful to hear he is okay. God bless our brave Secret Service and the first responders who acted quickly to protect him. This is a horrific day in our nation's history. News 5's Caleb Perney joining us now with a political analysis of what this incident could mean. Caleb.
Yeah, Kristen, it was right here on News 5 at 6 when we first learned about the news and were in shock. And tonight we're joined by Eric Stanton from Northeast State Community College, who is our political analyst. And, what does this say about the direction our country is heading?
This is an absolute terrible day in American history. It's an absolute terrible day for our republic. And people from both ends of the spectrum, whether it's the far left or far right, are coming together and realizing that political violence of any sort is never good in this country. And so what you're going to see moving on out, I was glad to see that the Harris-Biden campaign has suspended all their ads for this weekend, as they should. And I'm glad to see the former president's okay. But unfortunately, an innocent bystander that went to watch this rally today has lost his life and will not be able to return to his earthly home tonight. And that's very, very troubling.
Yeah, it feels like it's been a long time since we've experienced something like this. When was the last time that there was an attempt on a president's life?
Well, obviously Ronald Reagan and Gerald Ford and stuff of that nature. But more recently, we have one, a Representative Gabby Gifford in Arizona back a couple of years ago. She was having, again, a rally in Arizona at a mall, if I recall correctly, and received very wounds that to this day she's still having a lot of issues with. So obviously political violence of any nature is not needed in this republic. It doesn't do anything good. I always say if you don't like the person that's running for office, make it known in the ballot box. Don't make it known from behind a weapon, behind a rifle, behind a pistol or something of that nature. Make it known in the ballot box. Again, there's no reason for political violence. What's concerning me right now in this country is we're on about an 8 of 10 right now as far as the energy that we're seeing in this election. It's an election like none other. In my 54 years, I've never seen this. My parents are almost 80 years old. They've never seen this in their lifetime. The heat is up, and at this point, we as Americans across the spectrum, whether we're left or right, need to just take a minute, calm down, breathe a little bit, and allow the process to take its place, and let's go on and have a good, safe election in November.
Yeah, and speaking of that, what kind of an impact could this have on the race?
It could have a big impact. Again, we're going into this next week, the Republican National Convention. You know, Caleb, we came a few millimeters tonight from instead of going to Republican National Convention to watching a funeral of a former president. We came within millimeters of that. And it's once a lot of us wake up in the morning and realize that this is a very tragic day in history where we'll actually all remember where we were when we heard the news. So going forward, it could definitely affect it. Going forward in the Republican National Convention, I'm sure that they're already adjusting who's speaking, the order of speakers, what's going to be said. Obviously, the young man that lost his life tonight will probably be recognized at the Republican National Convention, as he should be, and then things will go on. But again, it's going to come to cooler heads across the country to prevail in this situation.
All right. Thanks so much, Eric, for being with us tonight, and we send it back to you, Kristen.
Thank you, Caleb. Eric, tonight, the reactions pouring in, people shocked about the attempted assassination. Jonathan O'Halloran is outside the hospital where Trump was treated.
Good evening. Just a little while ago, we arrived here at Butler Memorial Hospital that you can see right behind me here. We were on the other side of that building where it is just flooded with Secret Service members. We were told that we had to move to the other side of the hospital, and that's where you can find us right now. We're told that just a little while ago that this parking lot was flooded with supporters who were coming to see what the condition of the former president was. Those people have since left since just a short time ago. President Trump stepped away. We spoke with a few of the people who did remain here just a short time ago.
So I was at Preston Park, about a mile away from where the shooting happened. I heard the shots. I was on the phone with my uncle. I heard the initial shots. I knew they were rifle shots. And then I heard the return fire. And then my uncle said, President Trump just got shot.
This isn't something that I want my kids to see. This is something that's going to go down in history and not in a positive light.
As you just heard, residents here in Butler are devastated at an event that has brought their small town worldwide publicity, and not for a good reason. At this point, we're told that the president has been moved from Butler Hospital here right behind us. At this point, things are very quiet right now.
We're coming up on 24 hours since a lone gunman shot at former President Donald Trump in an apparent assassination attempt. Good evening, everyone. I'm Caleb Perney. In that time, we've learned much more about the circumstances surrounding what happened, but there are still many questions left unanswered. Here's what we know about the shooter so far tonight. Law enforcement have identified him as 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks. They say that he lived near where the rally happened. NBC reports that Crooks was a registered Republican, but that he donated $15 to a Democratic Political Action Committee on the day of President Biden's inauguration. The Associated Press reports that Crooks' father bought the weapon 6 months ago. And here's what we still don't know. Investigators have not released a potential motive, and we don't know how Crooks was able to get on a roof just 450 feet away without being stopped by security. Tonight, we're also learning about the spectator who died. Pennsylvania's governor saying that his name was Corey Comparator. He was a 50-year-old former firefighter and the father of 2 daughters. His wife saying that he died protecting his family amid the gunfire.
Corey was a girl dad. Corey was a firefighter. Corey went to church every Sunday. Corey loved his community. And most especially, Corey loved his family.
President Biden has now addressed the nation twice, including this afternoon, saying that he has spoken to Trump, is condemning political violence, and is ordering a review of the security at that event. Biden is set to address the nation from the Oval Office again at 8 p.m. tonight.
Look, as this investigation continues, here's what we're going to do. First, Mr. Trump is a former president and nominee of the Republican Party, already receives a heightened level of security. And I've been consistent in my direction to the Secret Service to provide him with every resource, capability, and protective measure necessary to ensure his continued safety. Second, I've directed the head of the Secret Service to review all security measures for the Republican National Convention, which is scheduled to start tomorrow. And third, I've directed an independent review of the national security at yesterday's rally to assess exactly what happened. And we'll share the results of that independent review with the American people as well.
Our national correspondent Christine Frizzell now reports on the latest developments as the investigation into this assassination attempt continues.
An incident not seen in a generation. Now the start of a new chapter of modern history. The assassination attempt of the former president and current presumptive presidential nominee, leaving a nation stunned.
That bullet went just apparently a millimeter from doing real and permanent damage to him, or perhaps taking his life.
Speaker of the House Mike Johnson promising a full investigation into how Donald Trump was left so vulnerable following witness accounts like this.
We noticed the guy crawling, bear crawling up the roof. We're pointing at the guy crawling up the roof.
And he had a gun, right?
He had a rifle. We could clearly see him with a rifle. Absolutely.
The suspected shooter, killed by Secret Service, now identified as 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks, a registered Republican who also donated to a left-leaning group. Police say he had explosives in his car and at his home and was just about 200 to 300 yards away from the stage where Donald Trump was speaking.
How is it that someone could get on a roof with a superior position with a weapon and attempt to assassinate former President Donald Trump? It's just unthinkable, unfathomable. We need to know, is this a protocol failure? Is this a resources issue?
A defiant Donald Trump urging his followers on social media to fear not and remain resilient. Returning to New Jersey and announcing he had decided not to delay his trip to Milwaukee, posting, "I cannot allow a shooter or potential assassin to force change to scheduling or anything else." President Joe Biden speaking out on the incident as well, once again.
An assassination attempt is contrary to everything we stand for as a nation, everything. It's not who we are as a nation. It's not America. And we cannot allow this to happen.
A former Pennsylvania fire chief, Corey Comparator, was killed while attending the Butler County rally. His sister posting this photo on Facebook saying, "My baby brother had just turned 50.
Corey loved his community. And most especially, Corey loved his family.
Former First Lady Melania Trump posting this statement on X, calling the country to ascend above the hate, the vitriol, and the simple-minded ideas that ignite violence. President Joe Biden is echoing those calls for unity, as are many of his fellow Democrats, saying it's time to stop calling for him to step down out of concern for his debate performance or his poll numbers, and instead stand behind him during this difficult time for our country. I'm Christine Frizzell reporting.
Tonight, Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin now joining the chorus of support from politicians across the country and on both sides of the aisle. The governor saying in a statement in part, quote, yesterday's attempted assassination of President Trump was an action of pure evil, an affront against our morality, an affront against our liberty, an affront against the very foundations of our great nation. If we ever deem it acceptable, we will lose our republic. We fix this through courage, faith, and yes, love, the governor said. The Republican National Convention is going on as planned. It kicks off tomorrow in Milwaukee. Former President Trump says that he's looking forward to speaking, and Trump has posted to his Truth Social twice since the attempt on his life, saying that he will attend the convention. He will accept the Republican Party presidential nomination later this week. Security details were already in place, but are expected to be heightened after Saturday's shooting. Now we take a live look in Kingsport tonight. People there are gathering for a prayer vigil at Glen Bruce Park. Organizers say it's to come together in unity and prayer for our country.
A former president was shot, an American citizen killed, while simply exercising his freedom to support the candidate of his choosing. We cannot, we must not go down this road in America.
Tonight, President Biden addressed the nation from the Oval Office, calling on Americans to unify following the assassination attempt of former President Donald Trump. Good evening, I'm Casey Guest. Now, his message focused on condemning political violence. Here's national correspondent Christine Frizzell with the latest details.
An incident not seen in a generation. Now the start of a new chapter of modern history. The assassination attempt of the former president and current presumptive presidential nominee, leaving a nation stunned. New video from TMZ showing the suspected shooter, 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks, in the moments before he was killed by Secret Service. The AP reporting a local police officer tried to confront the shooter, but backed away when the gun was pointed at him. The suspect's yearbook photos seen here. The crime now being investigated by the FBI as a domestic terror attack.
That bullet went just apparently a millimeter from doing real and permanent damage to him or perhaps taking his life.
Speaker of the House Mike Johnson promising a full investigation into how Donald Trump was left so vulnerable following witness accounts like this.
We noticed the guy crawling, bear crawling up the roof. We're pointing at the guy crawling up the roof.
And he had a gun, right?
He had a rifle. We could clearly see him with a rifle. Absolutely.
Police say he had explosives in his car and at his home and was just about 200 to 300 yards away from the stage where Donald Trump was speaking.
How is it that someone could get on a roof with a superior position with a weapon and attempt to assassinate former President Donald Trump? It's just unthinkable, unfathomable. We need to know, is this a protocol failure? Is this a resources issue?
A defiant Donald Trump arriving in Milwaukee for the Republican National Convention, saying he decided not to delay his trip, posting, "I cannot allow a shooter or potential assassin to force change to scheduling or anything else." President Joe Biden from the Oval Office addressing the nation Sunday night.
A former president was shot, an American citizen killed, while simply exercising his freedom to support the candidate of his choosing. We cannot, we must not go down this road in America.
A former Pennsylvania fire chief, Corey Comparator, was killed while attending the Butler County rally. His sister posting this photo on Facebook saying, "My baby brother had just turned 50. Former First Lady Melania Trump posting this statement on X, calling the country to ascend above the hate, the vitriol, and the simple-minded ideas that ignite violence. President Joe Biden is echoing those calls for unity, as are many of his fellow Democrats, saying it's time to stop calling for him to step down out of concern for his debate performance or his poll numbers, and instead stand behind him during this difficult time for our country. I'm Christine Frizzell reporting.
News 5's Caleb Perney now joins us live in studio with the latest details on what we know about what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania. Caleb.
Yeah, here's what we know about the shooter tonight. Law enforcement have identified him as 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks. He is from Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, which is an hour south of Butler, the site of yesterday's rally. Now, NBC reports that Crooks was a registered Republican, but he donated $15 to a Democratic Political Action Committee on the day of President Biden's inauguration. The Associated Press reports Crooks' father bought the weapon 6 months ago. Now, here's what we still don't know. Investigators have not released a potential motive, and we don't know how Crooks was able to get on a roof just 450 feet away without being stopped by security. And tonight, we're also learning about the spectator who died. Pennsylvania's governor is saying his name was Corey Contemperator. He was a 50-year-old former firefighter and the father of 2 daughters. His wife saying that he died protecting his family amid that gunfire.
Corey was a girl dad. Corey was a firefighter. Corey went to church every Sunday. Corey loved his community. And most especially, Corey loved his family.
Now, we'll keep following the latest on this story and bring it to you on air and online. Casey.
Caleb, thank you very much. Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin joining the chorus of support from politicians across the country on both sides of the aisle today. The governor in Virginia is saying in a statement in part, quote, yesterday's attempted assassination of President Trump was an action of pure evil, an affront against our morality, an affront against our liberty, an affront against the very foundations of our great nation. If we ever deem it acceptable, then we will lose our republic. We fix this through courage, faith, and yes, love. People from across the region gathering tonight in Kingsport for a prayer vigil in Glen Bruce Park. People gather to pray for unity and for the well-being of our country. State Senate candidate Bobby Harshbarger organized the event.
This is another example of just people coming out, meeting one another, meeting strangers that they don't know, but they can share a common goal of wanting just to pray for unity in our nation.
In just hours, Republicans will open their national convention in Milwaukee, but the focus of the political world right now remains on Pennsylvania in the wake of the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. Federal agents searching for evidence today and answers, while the Secret Service facing a lot of questions and criticism for what some in law enforcement are calling a security failure. Jay Gray is at the side of the rally in Butler, Pennsylvania with the latest this afternoon.
Former President Trump traveling to Milwaukee for today's opening of the Republican National Convention. Just a day after the attempt on his life. In a new interview, Mr. Trump describing his very surreal experience to the New York Post, adding, "I'm not supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be dead." Late Sunday, posting the message, "Unite America," on social media as President Biden addresses a stunned nation from the Oval Office.
You know, the political record in this country has gotten very heated. It's time to cool it down. We all have a responsibility to do that.
Responsibility at the center of growing questions and frustration over how it could happen. A rooftop less than 150 yards from the rally stage left open and accessible. The alleged shooter, seen in this new video, able to fire at least 8 shots from the position before he's taken out by Secret Service snipers.
The buck does stop with the U.S. Secret Service. It's their plan. You're responsible, so you can't deflect blame on anybody else.
President Biden ordering an independent investigation into what many in law enforcement are calling a colossal breakdown and profound security failure.
If that bullet was 2 inches to the right, it would have penetrated the former president's forehead, and we would have a great American tragedy on our hands.
Federal agents searching for a motive say the man accused of pulling the trigger, 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks, is still a mystery, unknown to law enforcement before the attempted assassination. Jay Gray, NBC News, Butler, Pennsylvania.
The Associated Press saying a police officer encountered that suspect seconds before the gunman took aim at the former president. The officer climbed to the roof where Crooks was perched, and Crooks is said to have then pointed his rifle at the officer, who retreated before firing at Trump. Secret Service snipers then shot and killed Crooks. However, here's what we still don't know. As Jay was just mentioning, there's no potential motive that's been released right now. And they also don't know how he was able to get on that roof at just 450 feet away from being stopped by security. That investigation is still very much active today. Congress picking up part of the investigation into that apparent assassination attempt as well. Washington Post reporting that Senate Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee will investigate the campaign rally shooting. And the House Oversight Committee chairman has already asked the Secret Service director to testify at a hearing next week for its own part of the investigation. House Oversight Committee members saying lawmakers need details of what happened and they need them as soon as possible. Let's take a live look right now at the Republican National Convention stage in Milwaukee as the stage is set for former President Trump to take that stage and appearing there later today. NBC News also reporting that former president is expected to announce his vice presidential choice today as well. Delegates will vote on the VP nomination coming up on Wednesday. And breaking this morning, a federal judge has dismissed the classified documents case against Donald Trump. A ruling on Monday, Judge Elaine Cannon said an appointment of the special counsel in the case, Jack Smith, violated the Constitution. Smith had charged the former president with mishandling of secret documents after leaving the White House, accusing him of endangering national security. Now Smith can appeal the judge's decision.